Well, 2020 was certainly quite the year, wasn't it? And I think a lot of people have said that and will continue to say that. In hindsight, I look back and I think, well, the challenge is probably quite appropriate, but really, 2020 hindsight is one of those things, isn't it? The year's been interesting. Obviously, everyone's had some challenges to confront in and around the decoupling from the office. So if we had the sudden move to remote working, people needed to get away from their, quite honestly, paper-based processes primarily. But some firms who'd moved their systems to the cloud had that agility. They had that ability to quickly decouple, to start to have people work in remote locations. And some firms had done part of the process. So they decoupled partially, they were able to work off laptops and work in core systems in the cloud, but they were still reliant in some ways on some paper-based processes. And that agility then started to come to the fore again with some firms who had realised the need for things like online wills, the ability to meet needs, because obviously the increase in the demand for wills was there. And so many of our customers said, hey, great, look, we really need to start looking at different services. And it kind of sped things up in terms of some of the decision making that's happened. So from a challenge perspective, I think that's been a challenge that's been partially met. Let's say that. Well, lots of lessons, big events like COVID and other similar events that have happened in the world history have typically then really tested us, haven't they? And I think that's very true of us in this kind of circumstance. And probably the biggest test that we've had to confront is in and around change. So how have we dealt with change? And what is the way in which we've gone about change? Because there's been many organisations in the legal sector who have perhaps, if we look at technology as an example, seen that as something that they need to do, but it does represent change. And then they've looked at that and said, okay, we get it, we know we need to do it, but it just doesn't get prioritised and it isn't something that we need to turn a hand to because actually, we're going okay right now. So what COVID did, of course, was it changed that. And it forced us to then prioritise some of these decisions because some firms were just not at all able to act with any sort of agility. And other firms, in fact, were looking at this as an opportunity and say, well, hey, wow, we can take this, go and do things quickly, introduce a new way of working, and let's get the most out of this that we possibly can and try and be positive about it. So it was really interesting to watch the way that the industry dealt with that. But fundamentally, if you look at it, it's really all about change, how we manage that change. And there's been lots of different examples of that through different firms in the sector. For me, resilience. Absolutely. Resilience of individuals, resilience of communities, resilience of companies, resilience of the nation as a whole. I think if you looked at the way in which the British public has responded to this, outside clapping around NHS and coming together in neighbourhoods, the ability to see the light at the end of the tunnel and to work our way through in a resilient fashion to get to the outcome has just been brilliant. If we look at the Arken example, I'm just so proud of my team here because they've been remarkably resilient. There was a lot of shock and fear, as I'm sure there was for every organisation when this first happened, and a lot of fear of the unknown. And the team really came together, overcame that. We found ourselves new ways of working. We were able to adopt to that really quickly, and found ways in which we could come together even closer. We tend to be a really close team anyway, but that resilience, that ability to take things on the chin, to adapt, to be able to then say, right, actually, we've got to get the positives out of this. Let's make sure that we're all supporting each other, coming together as a community, as a team to do that. That, to me, I think, is probably one of those really positive things about COVID, and we should celebrate that. We should embrace that and make the most of that. I'm almost kind of hesitant to issue a challenge in case something else happens. But my challenge really for this year is, look, we are where we are. And there's some things happening that we really have limited control over. So we must celebrate the positive. We must try and find ways of going on from here. One thing we can be certain is that probably life is going to get a bit tougher over the next year or two because of the economy. It's going to become more competitive. There's going to be a lot more price pressure. So in our businesses, and also in our lives and in our families and friends and things like this, we're probably going to have some negative stuff that we're going to need to cope with. So it's really important then that if we think about a challenge, that we don't stop with the pace of change. If anything, we need to speed up and address the way in which we are going about changing, because these are the things that we'll need to have in place to sustain us, to make sure that we can be agile, to make sure that we can be competitive, to make sure that our business is as robust as it can be. But also, you could take that message personally and say that that's something that we need to be taking on and saying, well, how do we need to change? What are our mindsets? How do we approach another lockdown? How do we approach a circumstance where perhaps we're having to homeschool kids again, or whatever the impact might be? So my challenge this year, if I'm allowed to give one, is that we address change, that we look for ways in which we can do that, and that the industry will consider that. And hopefully next year when I come to talk to you all again about these sorts of things, we can look back in retrospect and think, well, actually that's again been a positive influence. Well, our customers are giving us a lot of ideas, so thank you for all your feedback. We love that. That's brilliant. We're getting a lot of new and exciting stuff that we're going to bring to the table. So that's really exciting. There's integrations with more CRM and practice management systems, and there's some new products. But look, overall, overarching with all of that is that we want to help you be more efficient. We want to help you meet the challenges that are coming in 2021, 2022, possibly 2023. So how can we make sure that you can meet the challenges of price pressure, of competition, all these things that we've been talking about in previous discussions? How can we make sure that you can be as efficient as possible, if we think of it in a positive sense, to be as profitable as possible? How can we give you the tools to make sure that, in fact, you can grow, you can find new markets, you can acquire new customers, you can be deeply efficient in that greatest asset that we have, which is our time? Because things have changed, haven't they? And we really value time now. We always did professionally, but now we're really valuing time personally. And technology can sit in the middle of those two things and really enable a change in lifestyle. You can work 4 days a week, you can do all sorts of different things. And that's a great opportunity, a fantastic opportunity. And we take that really seriously. So if we can enable that sort of nexus of professional efficiency and ensuring that practitioners and individuals can achieve that work-life balance and get some freedoms, then I think if we hit that sort of point, then we're absolutely in the right sort of place. So watch this space.